What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Create Your Own Economy Conference. I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today, taking time out of your busy schedules and investing in yourself. For you, that might not seem like a big deal, but for everybody else, you being here is insane. They think this is a waste of time. They'd rather be watching Netflix or doing something else. And so the mere fact that you're here separates you. Not to compare yourself with everybody else, but to become better yourself. So thank you so much for being here. I want to congratulate you sincerely for taking the time out of your busy day to be here. So one thing, we have some incredible speakers here today. I hope you guys understand, research, and realized how amazing the speakers are that we have here today. So one of the things that I want to ask you for them is when they come up, stand up, clap, and I want it to feel like there's a football game going on down there, and there's 5 seconds left, and we're down by touchdown, and we're at the 5-yard line. Like, that's what I want it to feel like up here every time a speaker comes on stage. Like, I want the ground to shake a little bit. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I want to tell you about how this came to be. Last November, Kennedy, where's Kennedy? Kennedy is our brand director of the Fight Against Mediocrity. Kennedy, Lauren, my wife, and myself were actually at the Huntsman Business School, and we're planning for this year. We're setting the goals for the Fight Against Mediocrity. And one of the goals, and you know how we do it, is we write down everything. There's no limits. Write down everything that we think we want to do. And then we narrow it to the top 10 and then the top 3. And holding this conference was one of those. And I immediately knew where I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be here. If you got here late, you haven't seen the view, but the view is spectacular. And it's just a really cool venue. And I wanted to visualize what it would be like. And so I sent it to my sister, Chloe, over there. She's our resident techie in Photoshop. And so I had her edit this, put some people in it. If you look really close, I think you can see Travis. I think she got his picture in there. And I had her edit this, and I said, okay, this is what it's going to feel like. And I want you to know that you being here, number one, is completing that visualization, that goal that we set. And so, again, I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I also want you to know that the speakers are going to be incredible, but the people here are absolutely going to help you change your life. Harvard has done a study, and after 25 years, they've shown that your reference group, meaning who you spend your time with, is the number one, not number two, number one determining factor between success and failure. Write that down I want to get you guys in your notebooks writing stuff down. Write that down. Your reference group, who you spend time with. Sometimes I think we don't think about it, but who you spend time with matters. Today, it's going to feel a little bit like this. You're going to get a lot of information coming at you, and that's a good thing. After events like these, I usually have to go to the chiropractor and get my wrist adjusted because I've been writing so much. So that's what you're going to feel. Just expect it. But I want you to realize that you can help it by having a goal for why you want to be here. Knowing up front, hey, these are the questions I want answers to. So I want you to know that you can do anything. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. So real quick, take a second and in your journals, write down 1 or 2 questions that you want answered today. In each of your boxes, there were sticky notes. Don't use those right now, but at the end of the day and end of tomorrow, I want you to compile all the ideas that you received from the conference and write them on the sticky notes. 1 idea per sticky note. We're going to take that, whittle it down to the top 10, then whittle it down to the top 3, and take action. That's what those sticky notes are for. Nick is going to talk about that a little bit more. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. Some of you might know me, some of you don't. When I was in 11th grade, I had a crush on a girl. Yes, I asked Lauren if I could share the story. So I had a crush on a girl, and everyone was going to dances. I hadn't really ever been to a dance. I was too into unicycling. I'll talk about that in just a second. But I decided, okay, I'm going to ask this girl to the dance. And I thought of the most creative way that I could do it. me and my buddies, with our 17-year-old brains, that's a really good combination. We got together and we said, okay, how are we going to ask her? Because I wanted her to say yes. Her friends had said, no, she hasn't been asked yet. So we bought a 5-gallon bucket and we filled it full of mustard. Has anybody heard about this idea before? No? So we filled it full of mustard. I hate mustard, so the whole time I was like gagging. But we filled it full of mustard, and then we wrote her name on ping pong balls and put the ping pong balls in the mustard. And then on a poster, we wrote, and I thought this was like, for sure. She was going to say yes, for sure. I wrote, I finally mustered up the balls to ask you to the dance. Right? Thought she was going to say yes. She said no. So I don't know. I think in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe she just doesn't want to go because they said she didn't have anyone to go with, but maybe she really did have someone to go with, whatever. So obviously I'm going to try again, right? So the next dance comes. I think of another way. We go ask her. She says no again. Okay, I get the hint. She doesn't want to go to the dance with me. I'm not going to ask her again, right? No, I ask her again. I ask her a third time to another dance, and she says no for the third time. I'm very persistent. And ultimately, that experience is kind of like, it shows you what my high school experience was like. Compared myself to others. I didn't think I was good enough. I wasn't on the football team or basketball team. And that was the experience that I had. I don't know why I'm like even getting emotional about that, but that was the experience I had. And that drove me to prove myself. I had to prove myself in some way. And I picked unicycling. Don't ask me why I picked unicycling. I probably could have picked a lot more lucrative, cooler sport, but I picked unicycling. I became the 4th in the world in street unicycling. I competed in Italy in 2012. And whenever I pick something, I go all in. Lauren can tell you, when we're driving in the car and the GPS tells me to turn, I miss it every time because I'm just all in on what I'm thinking about. And that's how I am here with you guys, with the Fight Against Mediocrity and the Create Your Own Economy Conference. I'm all in. I'm all in to help you. I'm all in bringing people here to help you. Because I was rejected in high school, I don't want you to ever feel like that. And I want you to know that you can do anything. So I'm going to answer 2 quick questions during the presentation today. What does create your own economy mean? And I want you to believe that you can create your own economy. Create is an interesting word. If you look it up, it says to bring into existence. And the very first verse in the Bible says, in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. That's the first sentence. The first thing God tells us he is a creator. And if we're made in the image of God, we are creators also. It's up to you whether or not you're going to create, because you have the power to act or to be acted upon. It's up to you. Everything around you that you call life, this building, this event, other events, things that you've seen on the internet, things that we see on TV, was made up by people that were no smarter than you, and you can change it. A lot of times we hear things. You guys are hearing this right now. You're seeing it. Hopefully you're feeling it, but you have to believe it. It can't be a story. It can't be something Steve Jobs just says for fun, for marketing. You have to believe it. Economy, it's pretty simple. The wealth and resources of a country or region, especially terms in production and consumption of goods. So basically, the more things are exchanging hands for money, the more an economy grows. And a lot of times we think macroeconomy, maybe even your city, but we never think about it as us being our own economy, producing and creating and consuming. We don't have to wait for the economy to tell us it's a good economy. I had a coworker once who said, well, when the economy slows, there's not really anything you can do. And for some reason, that lit a fire in me. I'm like, no, that's BS. That's not true. The power's in me, right? I can poke life and change it. The government, unfortunately, doesn't believe in you. You want to know why I know that? Because of the amount of money they spend on welfare. They're just going to give us money. They don't believe that we can create our own economy. Universities, when I was going to school, I was studying accounting. And I always asked myself, if we're studying accounting, which is the language of business, assuming we could run a business, why don't they teach us about that? Their whole goal was for me to go work for a Big Four accounting firm, which for a lot of people is probably great. But they just want to look good to other students saying, hey, we placed X amount of students in these schools. Banks, if you've ever tried to get a loan from a bank being self-employed, it's easier to get into North Korea. They're not going to help you create your own economy either. And unfortunately, a lot of times your own friends and family, because they say they love you, and they do love you, they don't want you to fail. They don't want to see you fail, so they're going to tell you, stay safe. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're not going to help you create your own economy either. What I want you guys to realize, and this is from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about the circle of concern and the circle of influence. The circle of concern is everything that you can't control. Sure, it's a concern, but you have zero effect over it. Coronavirus, elections, news, government, in-laws. I don't say that because my father-in-law is here. My in-laws are fantastic. They're the exception. The price of gas, you can't control any of that, but how many times do we hear, oh, gas is just so expensive, and that's the topic of conversation instead of saying, well, maybe I just need to make more money. The things that we can control are our words, actions, behaviors, what you read, who you spend time with, and as you focus on that circle, it grows, and you influence more. In 1970, the OPEC quadrupled the price of oil and gas. The economy was in a recession, so Fred Smith, founder of FedEx, thought it was a great time to start a transportation business. In 1971, he started and he raised $82 million. They quickly ran out of money, all $82 million. Instead of saying, man, the economy's bad, we picked a bad time, let's wait, and we'll flip it, we'll try again. It's easy to justify that, right? Instead, they said, how can we fix this? How can we create our own economy? And they came up with the slogan, FedEx, when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. How many of you have heard of that before? That saved them. In 1980, 9 years later, they made $40 million. Michael Cullen was working for Kroger. And he had a really good idea. He had the idea of a supermarket place where people could come and buy more than just groceries. And he brought it to his boss, and his boss shut him down. Okay, well, I'm going to go do it myself. He started King Cullen, the first supermarket as we know today. And there are 25 locations in Long Island. How many times have we had an idea and someone told us, no, don't do it, and so we give up on it? That's why you're here today. That's why I brought all of these speakers here for you, is so that you can learn how to create your own economy, no matter what's happening around you. I promise you, and that's why I gave those 2 examples. It doesn't matter what's happening in the macroeconomy. You control your own economy. What's really interesting, I love this. I heard this last week. What's really, really interesting, are you guys liking this? Is this good stuff? Okay. What's incredibly interesting is in nature, trees, plants, animals, they are programmed to do all they can do. All that they can do. A redwood tree will grow as tall as it can. Humans, we're the only creature that has the choice not to do all that we can. So my question for you is, will you do all that you can do? And will you create your own economy?